Welcome to Senior Basketball Analyst. This 48 free agents at 48 minutes. Right here, what we're going to do is we're just going to give you a breakdown. On average, 1 minute per player. We're going to do a breakdown of what these players do, what their skill set is, and what type of scenario they would fit best. It doesn't really have there's not a whole lot of value in doing a lot of speculation on, where people go or where people may go and where or what rumors are floating around. Players are going to land where they land. That's not really worthwhile and kind of a waste of time. It's a lot like the hours and hours of draft coverage we see in every league. There's almost no point to any of that. And largely for players that are going to have no impact on anything in the near term or in their entire career. But what we're going to do is these 48 players all are in some way impactful, some more than others. And I've got, my partner Greg with me, so we're going to get right into it. This is Senior Basketball Analyst style, so there's no notes and there's no research or any of that. Do you watch the games or not? Greg, let's get to it, man. Aaron Aflalo, man, speak on it.
I like Aaron Aflalo. I loved what he did in Orlando. I'm concerned that if you don't force feed him the ball and say, go produce, go produce, go produce, he may not give you enough. He's a good defender. He's shown that he has the range. He's picked that up lately. He's a pretty okay playmaker, but I think he has to be in the type of environment where someone's going to feed him the ball and make him be the engine for the offense. And I just don't think there's any good team that can allow him to be the pace setter for them in the offense. So where he goes, I don't know. He's not proven to be a very effective role player, in my opinion. So that's my 2 cents on him.
It would have been nice if we had gotten to see him in the playoffs get to fill the role he was brought there to fill, which was to be the backup shooting guard, maybe play a little backup three, maybe. We didn't get to see that because Wes Matthews, basically for the first time in his career, got injured. So Aaron Aflalo, I think Aaron Aflalo is a really good shooting guard. But no, if he's starting, you're hurting. LaMarcus Aldridge, go.
Best power forward in basketball is the first term or phrase that comes to mind with that one, obviously. I'd like to see him go somewhere where he can, if he goes anywhere, he's probably going to stay in Portland. Again, you don't want us to speculate, so I won't. But obviously, this is the prototype. This guy is the best power forward in basketball. He can do everything and does everything extraordinarily well, including lead the team and be the heart and soul of an offense and be the type of guy who plays through the second half of the season with a, semi-dislocated thumb or something like that and kept playing. So you want this guy on your team. Any team in the league would be happy to have him, obviously. Jalen Rose did say he might end up in San Antonio. Jalen Rose has kind of a nose for these sorts of things. So that would be interesting. I'd love to see him play next to Tim Duncan.
He doesn't got a nose for anything. He knows like 8 different people in every organization.
Yeah, sure.
That's how this happens. Like you make these connections and then you utilize them. But no, Jalen's a good source and he is often right. If he ends up in San Antonio, everybody else can just pack their bags and go home.
Yeah.
Pack up and go home. Like, I don't know how you beat them. No, I don't know how you beat them if they actually have superior talent to put on the floor. I don't know how you beat them given that any coach that's as good as Greg Popovich doesn't get to stay with his team long enough to build up an organizational structure. So, Lionel Hollins was trying to build his thing in Memphis and they just fired him for no reason. Great job, Don Hollinger. You're awesome. And put a guy in his place. Can't coach at all. Dude can't coach at all. But they don't care. So if that happens, man, San Antonio with having him and Kawhi Leonard as a base, the sky's the limit. They could go and run off 5 titles in 10 years with that. Like Omer Asik, go.
Not convinced of this guy. I never have been, really. I mean, he had that one good season where he grabbed a ton of rebounds.
You're not convinced because he's garbage. That's why.
Because he's garbage, yeah. Yeah, he grabbed a ton of rebounds on a meaningless team in a meaningless season, and he's been relegated to the bottom of anybody's bench anytime any of the players are healthy, right? He's the guy who jumps in and gets major minutes and plays a bunch of, gets a bunch of garbage stats while the starters are all hurt. That's what happened this past season in New Orleans. So I don't know that there's a whole lot of value here. There's just, he's a big 7-footer, gets boards when he can, doesn't have any offense to speak of. I don't think he's that exciting. I think it'll be at the very end of free agency when people are like, we got to get a body to put on the roster kind of thing.
Don't underestimate the stupidity of NBA GMs. They gave him, they threw a pile of money at him in Houston, and what did he do? When it came time to win a title, he quit. That's the main thing I don't like about him. He's a quitter. So why do I want if in a professional athlete, I don't want that. That aside from his lack of skill and even his lack of defensive effectiveness, he's not even an effective defender. That's a myth. That's not even true. So I think nothing of Omer Sheik. Patrick Beverly, restricted. Go.
I'd like to say he's going to be one of the most sought after guys in the free agency market this summer because
you mean obviously defense? Those teams are going to go after him.
The thing is, you know what? I don't think all the teams are going to go after him. I would imagine. Well, here's the thing. I think Houston's just going to keep him. To be honest, I think they will make sure that they keep him. From what I understand, he's well liked on that team. Guys like Dwight Howard and James Harden are going to stick up for him and want him there. I don't think he's going to garner, frankly, a very high price tag. Mostly because of what you said. He's just not valued. People don't value defensive stoppers in this league. So, but I think there are going to be a few teams that are going to really want him. I think if you're Indiana, even though you've got George Hill, who's playing fantastic ball right now at this point in his career, you still want this guy to go chase people and to be the spell for a team that's often injured. If you're Chicago, you want this guy, because you need somebody to come in and be the stopper when Derrick Rose is not able to be that all the time. So I think there are a couple teams that are kind of close, that are contenders, that really want this guy. But I think he's going to stay in Houston.
You know what? My 94 feet is obviously one of my favorite players. And I see where you're going with that. And I'll tell you like this. Anybody that's talking about winning the title, he can help you, whether he's going to start or back up. I would, if I was Cleveland, for example, I would love to put him behind Kyrie Irving and have an attack dog that will, when Kyrie Irving is not in the game, or when Kyrie Irving is in the game and we just want to pull him off the point guard defensively, I could put Patrick Beverly. It's very similar to what was done, is often done with Steph Curry in Golden State. They put all manner of defenders, whether it be Sean Livingston or Andre Iguodala, on tough point guards. So Patrick Beverly can help any team, but I agree with you, probably stay in Houston. But defensively, it probably doesn't get any better at the point guard position. Maybe a guy like Chris Paul, who's extremely effective defender and also a future Hall of Famer. So Corey Brewer, go.
Love Corey Brewer. Love him. Loved him since he was in Florida. And I like him a lot now that he's kind of settled into what he's going to be, which is an 18-minute-a-game guy who plays good defense, can hit the three occasionally, is a smart player, doesn't make a lot of mistakes, a hustle guy. I really like Corey Brewer. I think scene change, though, is coming, because I think it's just crowded in Houston, and they're not going to be able to keep everybody. And I'm not sure that he wants to stay necessarily. But who knows? I mean, that team is just really crowded at every position but point guard. That team is just chock full of dudes. So I see him moving. I see him moving on. And again, you'd love to have him anywhere. I think as your sixth, seventh man, seventh, eighth guy off the bench, because he's just not going to contribute enough consistently in terms of statistical production. But you love to have him come in and be your backup three if you're Chicago, if you're Washington, if you're any team. I mean, he's fantastic. I really like his ability to be a role player. And so I think he'll be chased. I think he'll be chased a little bit.
I'm not as high on him. And what I would encourage you to do, and we'll pick up this debate, some other time when Brewer, sometime next season when Brewer is back playing like everybody else is back playing. I don't think he's as effective defensively as he gets credit for. I think he can create turnovers. It's not like he's doing nothing defensively, but I think as far as guarding his man, stopping baskets, I watched that dude. I watched him one game. He was getting killed defensively by multiple players. Like they were moving him around. He was getting killed by it was against the Bulls, in fact. He was getting killed by everybody. I don't think he's that effective defensively. I don't think he has the strength or the intelligence on the defensive end. He can hit an open three occasionally. You know what I like him as? I like him as a 12th man. Somebody on the end of the bench that if I had to go to him, he can play, and I'm not going to a clown, which like Cleveland ran out of players.
Yep.
That's what you want to happen. If Corey Brewer's sitting there, you didn't run out of players. This dude's not that good, but you didn't run out of players. It's my point. The hometown guy, man, Jimmy G. Buckets, Jimmy Butler, go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's a max guy. Word on the street is he's going to wait for the re-upped max money in a few years. So, but I think in the meantime he probably stays in Chicago. I don't think it benefits him to leave. He's clearly become the lead dog in that backcourt, frankly. Even though Derrick Rose is still the guy, former MVP, all that. Jimmy Butler's your premier perimeter guy on that team, and I think you can ride or die with that guy. He can play defense. He can shut anybody down. And we saw him go head up with LeBron, and he did a fantastic job. And then also you saw him go take it to LeBron on the offensive side. So this guy can score with the best of them. He's big. He's physical. He's a great defender. He's a hustle guy. That jump shot gets better and better every season. And I think he was like one of the top 5 guys in free throw attempts this year. So he's a guy who makes your offense go, and he makes you get easy buckets and gets the other team under pressure and in trouble. So the sky's the limit for this guy. I hope he stays in Chicago as a Bulls fan. I hope we can keep him and re-up him for the max eventually. But love the guy, obviously.
I 100% agree. I would also just add, just since you didn't mention it, the post game, man. The young man can bring his back to the basket as well. Yeah, he's just, you know what? He's a well-rounded throwback shooting guard, to the days of Mitch Richmond and, Clyde Drexler. He's just a throwback guy that goes out and does a little bit of everything and does a few things very well. So, Jimmy's a max guy, He's a max guy, and unless Chicago is, unless Paxson and Foreman are even dumber than they appear on the surface, he will be in Chicago for a long time and for probably the remainder of his prime anyway. Your guy is next, man. DeMarre Carroll, man. Talk about him.
Woo! I mean, you know what I'm realizing though? I like small forwards. That's really what it is. I think to me, I love a guy who can defend in the middle of the spectrum, so to speak, right? And guys who will play up, play down, guys who can do the extra stuff that you need to win basketball games. And I think DeMarre Carroll is like Iguodala, not as skilled, obviously, not in the universe, but a guy who will take on every part of what basketball is. He does everything you want from a basketball player. He defends, he stops buckets, he gets buckets, he can pass a little bit when you need to, at least to function in the offense. He's a very willing rebounder. He's out there chasing down centers and power forwards. I really like him. I like him a lot. I hope he gets good money, and I think he'll probably get good money and leave Atlanta, frankly. He had a pretty great season.
I always joke about him. I think last time we brought him up on the show, I said, "Ooh, he's a basketball player. I'm impressed." Because that's what he is. He's a complete skill set guy that can do a little bit of everything. As you said, defends multiple positions, can play in a lot of different spots on the floor offensively. He's a small forward. Interesting. DeMarre Carroll, what's going to end up happening with him is he'll either be way in over his head and overpaid on a bad team, or somebody will pay him moderately and he will be on a good team, and in a role where he's the 5th or 6th option and he's just out there to play good D and score, when it's given to him.
Yeah.
So that's DeMarre Carroll. Man, long time. It's interesting, man. This is the guy I used to call my nephew, man. This guy is old now, Tyson Chandler.
Oh, wow. Tyson Chandler. You called it. But interesting, my other, reminds me a lot of Marcus Camby, right? Like in terms of what he does in his approach to basketball.
Similar career. Similar
Yeah.
career.
So I anticipate that he's probably still got another good 5-6 years left in the tank to be able to rebound, block shots. I mean, he's getting injured more often than he used to. He's missing a little more time. He's playing fewer minutes, but he's still very effective. I mean, he's not going to be defensive player of the year again, but he's a guy who's still going to block 2 shots a game. He's a guy who's still going to get you 10 rebounds, and 9, 10 points or whatever it is, and shoot 48 to 50% from the field. So maybe better. I mean, he's really become a very complete center, and I really like that about him. So obviously he's gonna get a contract from somebody. Somebody's gonna have him as their starting center. The question is where. If LaMarcus Aldridge moves on out of Portland, maybe he lands there. That would be an okay fit. I wouldn't mind him supplanting Robin Lopez or something like that. But he's gonna get picked up. He's gonna be a starting center somewhere in the league. He's got too much skills.
Even at his advanced stage, he's better than Robin Lopez because he does everything Robin Lopez does, but better. He's a better pick and roll, lob guy. He's a better position defender. He's a better shot. He's better at everything.
Better rebound.
The problem is he's just getting old. He's one of the most intelligent defenders in the league in terms of not at the rim. He stops people. He rotates and stops people before they even get to the paint. A very intelligent defender. Ed Davis.
Ed Davis is tricky. He's tricky. He had a good season, quiet as kept, even though Byron Scott clearly did not what he was doing with his rotation. But Ed Davis can be effective.
In Byron Scott's defense, they don't have a roster.
This is true. This is true, but it didn't stop him.
He not have ever seen a basketball game before, the way he runs that team.
But that's the thing. It's so weird because Robert Sarcy got some starts. Jordan Hill got some starts. Carlos Boozer got some starts.
It's Sacre.
Whatever. I'm not gonna bother figuring out his name, to be honest. And the white dude, Kelly, Robin Kelly, is that his name? He got some starts. So
no,
his name
isn't his name Robert. His name's Ryan Kelly. His name's Ryan Kelly.
He got some starts. So I mean, I feel bad for Ed Davis because he was having a very good season at points, but I think it's just tough to get consistency out of anybody, especially a guy like Ed Davis who really isn't a career starter, who really is kind of a journeyman kind of guy, but solid power forward, rebounds like a monster when he gets the minutes, and great under the glass, stick backs, all that stuff, and can shoot the ball a little bit out to 8-10. So I like him. He's not going to be a starter anywhere because I don't think anyone trusts him to do that. But he'll get picked up somewhere and earn his way into the rotation again and become a very valuable contributor off the bench again. And we'll see. But yeah, he's solid, obviously.
Yeah, Ed Davis is good backup 4 or 5. I'd have him. He could back up on a really good team. He could be the first big man off the bench on a really good team.
Yeah.
Luol Deng. By the way, Sacre averaged 4.6 points per game. So know his name because he could blow up and average 6 points next year. I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's so relevant and important.
Former Chicago Bull, current Miami Heat player, Leon Doing. Go.
I feel bad. This is another guy I feel bad for because he's becoming one of those journeyman guys. And I thought he had a home in Chicago. Could have been, we were trying to clear cap space, I guess, so we could chase Paul Gasol. Had that work out for you, Chicago, in the finals, in the playoffs when you needed him. But
he's played like 2/3 of the games.
Yeah, he did. he did, which is nice. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. No, but Luol Deng is a guy who I think can thrive when he's not asked to be, a 20-a gamer. Even though at points when Derrick Rose was out and things like that, he showed up and he got you almost 20. He pushed up to about 18. But I think really he's a 15-a gamer. He's a guy who can hit open shots. Works hard, obviously good defender. Getting old, so he's probably past the height of what he's going to be. And he's now just this kind of guy who's going to get picked up somewhere and probably have to come off the bench in the next 2 years, because I don't know that he's going to be able to stay, starting small forward caliber speed or physicality or anything like that. So I think we're kind of on the downside of the curve for him, and that's too bad, because I don't think we ever got to see him really be utilized really well.
I think he was utilized fine as a Chicago Bull. He was overutilized, in fact. Luol, I was never as impressed with him as people were here at his height, and then when people hated him, I wasn't nearly as down on him.
Yeah.
Luol Deng was a really, really good basketball player. Now he's a pretty good player, but he's a consummate professional. Defends his position, hits open shots. He can drive and finish to a degree. Good player, not great. And frankly, there's nothing wrong with him staying in Miami, but he can help anybody. He could help anybody in almost any role. He can start, come off the bench. There's a lot of ways he can help your team, and he's very good in the locker room too. So he's good. He'll talk to the younger guys and all that stuff. He's good at everything, man. He's just a good guy, in spite of what Danny Ferry said about him. Interesting. I wonder what Danny Ferry really had against him. Yes, African. Oh yeah, he said it. He said it. Let's take him at his word. He said it. He didn't like Africans. Let's take him at his word. Goran Dragic.
Danny Ferry resigned today, right, from the Atlanta Hawks.
Did he? He actually.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think I read that. We unconfirmed on Senior Basketball Analyst. We'll have to get back to it, but yeah. But no, I think I read that. Somebody will confirm it for us. The fans will get after us.
One less white supremacist, man. One less. Also, he was a terrible player. Ooh, terrible. Goran Dragic, man, get it.
Yeah, it sounds like he's Miami's guy. It sounds like they're trying to pin the golden franchise tag on him, and they're going to just throw incredible amounts of money on him. Mistake, because that can't be your best player, and you win a championship. I like Goran Dragic fine. He's better than I thought he would be. I'll say that. He's exceeded what I thought he could be already. But I don't see.
That's because you just remembered Derrick Rose like Super Mario brother in him. And
jumping off a trampoline and just giving them.
And what what was funny? What was funny about that was with Stacey King, the way Stacey King called it, because he said something like, "Dragic, what are you doing?" Like, because have you ever done I would seriously ask Goran Dragic this: have you ever blocked a dunk in your life? And if not. Why did you try to do that? Like, that's a weird thing to try to do. And this does not define him as a player or anything like that. He did that way before he became a good player. So it's not the type of thing. It just was a funny play because you wonder why he tried to do that. but anyway, to get to his actual game, he's a good pick and roll player. He's a good shooter. In fact, he's in mid range. He's a great shooter. I didn't look up his numbers or any of that internal statistics stuff, advanced statistics, I should say. So I don't know what his mid range shooting percentage is. When I'm watching him, he hits a gang of mid range jump shots. And he for a below the rim finisher, he's very, very good. Like it looks like a less slick version of Kyrie Irving. It's also not nearly as effective, but that's what I'm getting at. A guy that knows how to take good angles and use the backboard well. He's a good, solid player. If somebody goes and starts throwing, superstar money at him, yeah, that's goofy and that's a mistake and doesn't make any sense. But if in Miami's case they need a starting point guard, he's sitting there already. That's perfectly fine, especially for the remainder of Wade's career, having a strong defender next to him, because he's a terrible defender. But he does do the other things fairly well. Man, it is old man Groundhog Day, Father Time himself, Tim Duncan.
Tim Duncan, I mean, we almost don't even need to call him.
No, I literally think he's Father Time. I think he is Father Time.
He's not getting any older. He just put the brakes on that at like, 30, 36 and just decided he was going to coast and be 36 for the rest of his career. But no, the dude is a bad mother, but clearly he's not ever going to leave San Antonio. So the question is he retiring or not? Sounds like not. Sounds like he's coming back. So I mean, he's an elite dude, one of the
There's
greatest
no
power
reason.
forwards to ever play. I mean, there's no point in talking about Duncan. We know what he is. We know the resume. So he'll be back. He'll be back playing. He'll be competing again, and he'll be just as awesome as he's been all the rest of his career.
Yeah, I'm not even going to add anything to Tim Duncan. There's nothing anybody that's listening to us needs to know about Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
Monte Ellis.
Who'd you say?
Monte Ellis.
I'm not sure I knew he was a free agent. That's interesting. That's interesting, actually.
He's unrestricted.
Yeah.
He's unrestricted.
Here's the thing. I mean, you couldn't name a more underrated, less valued dude at all phases of his career. I mean, he's sitting here single-handedly carrying the offense these days for Dallas, and I don't think he's really appreciated appropriately there or by them. You know, he can play with anybody. If Rondo comes into town and does whatever Rondo does to the offense, he's just fine. He just keeps plugging away. I really like him. Obviously, fantastic shooter, fantastic scorer, underrated defender in my opinion. I've said that before. I'll be on the record for that. I like the guy on the defensive end. Hopefully he goes and gets big money somewhere. I'd like to see him out of Dallas because I think that's a sinking ship. I think he can play anywhere, and I think his size doesn't have to be a factor. So hopefully good things for him. I mean, he's a badass.
It isn't a factor because it's about your skill set. It isn't about your height. I would take Joe Dumars at the 2 any day.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 6'2" at the tallest.
Yeah.
Monte Ellis Monte Ellis set a bunch of records in high school, and he's one of the last out of high school guys to come into the NBA. And you see why he didn't go to college. He's a 20 a game guy anytime he wants.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because of the complete skill set in terms of being able to shoot accurately from multiple different a multitude of different spots on the floor from 18 and in, finishes at the basket both above and below the rim with efficiency. He lightning quick and incredibly fast.
Yeah.
Keeps himself in tremendous condition. He is a solid defender. He's not great, but he is a solid defender. At the shooting guard position, if you're looking for a dude to get buckets and make good decisions as far as finding his teammates when you put him in pick and roll situations, he can do all of that. He plays the same kind of lead guard role that James Harden plays. He's not as great a player and not as explosive, but I will say this: he's been doing it longer than James Harden. So Monte Ellis, I can't say enough positive things about him. Whoever gets him, they have a star shooting guard. Marc Gasol.
Another one I didn't know was a free agent. I don't see him leaving, frankly.
You didn't know he was a free. Why do you think he played like that? You didn't know he was a free agent. Why do you think he played like that? Come
dude,
on,
he's fine. Marc Gasol. I don't question this dude. I mean, I'm all in on this guy. I think
it's not that I'm questioning. I mean, that was by far his best season because he was in a contract year.
You think so? He was MVP, defensive MVP of the league a few years back, and that wasn't in a contract year. Yeah,
do I need to explain why that was absurd?
Dude, Marc Gasol, he's in the conversation, dude. He's in the MVP conversation. I was gonna leave it at that.
All right, fine. No, fine. I just cut you off. Fine. No, Marc Gasol being Defensive Player of the Year last year made no sense. It made no sense. And here, I'll give it to you. I'll simply explain it. The justification that was used for making Marc Gasol Defensive Player of the Year, he was third on his team in those justifications. Mm-hmm. He was behind Tony Allen and Mike Conley Jr. in those defensive efficiency statistics they were using. You know why? Because he's at best the third best defender on his team. At best. He's not a bit better defender than Zach Randolph. But see, you watch the games to know that. Mm-hmm. I've watched Marc Gasol struggle to guard all kinds of people. It's not that he's a bad defender or anything. he's a decent defender on a great defensive team.
Mm.
Marc Gasol is an unrestricted free agent. He's going to get a max deal, and somebody may regret doing that because if you give him a max deal, he's not a number one anything. He's not going to be your best defender. He's not going to be your best scorer. He's not going to be your best rebounder unless you can't board as a team.
Yeah.
Why are you maxing him out then?
And
It's pretty
simple
to me.
He needs a front court mate. He has to have a Zach Randolph to be effective. So you can't.
That's what I think because
you can't even throw him
that
out
high post. That's sitting in the high post stuff and having space to operate doesn't work unless there's a bruiser on the block out in the opposite block. It doesn't work. The spacing will get messed up. So I 100% agree. Now, but by the way, I think both he and Zach Randolph have expressed that they enjoy the freedoms that they have because they're very complementary, have complementary skill sets. I expect him to stay in Memphis.
Me too.
And I expect Memphis to pay him. He's basically from Memphis because he grew up there because he was living there with Powell.
With his brother.
He's basically
I'm with you.
Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon is unrestricted with a player option.
He better take the option. He better take the option. I don't think anybody's buying them knees. I don't think anybody believes that story.
Real quick. Why does he have to take the option?
He has to take the option because he's not gonna. I don't know what his contract looks like. Now maybe his option is garbage, right? I don't think so though. But you got to take the option because I don't think anybody's gambling on those knees. Frankly, he hasn't showed that he can come back and be that type of a guy. And even before he got injured, there was still a lot of question marks around whether or not he could actually lead a team or be kind of a consistent scorer in the offense. He's got all the time.
I agree. He was a 20 a game guy when he got that deal. He's been, I think, a 12 a game guy since.
Right.
Yeah, he better take the option because if I was him, I wouldn't gamble on my knees.
Yeah.
One of the favorites of this show is next. He's the flavor of the month right now, but we're gonna like him till he's done playing. Goon Green.
And that dude is staying in Golden State. They'll find money for him, and
he's restricted too, so they can match.
Yeah, he's gonna stay. He's gonna stay. But obviously, I mean, we just got through talking about the finals and giving that dude a B+ or whatever we gave him on the grades. He's awesome, and it'd be interesting to see him somewhere else. He could help any team, obviously, but Golden State's not going to break up the championship team with their energy player and their energy and emotion guy and their spiritual leader and all that stuff. He's staying, so he's
Go back to David Lee.
I said right.
Danny Green.
Say again.
Danny Green, unrestricted.
Now, Danny Green is expendable because I think, frankly,
why?
Because Kawhi Leonard makes it so that you don't need him. Now, you kind of need him because Ginobili's old as dirt. But anybody can do what Danny Green does in San Antonio, frankly.
Thank you. Anybody can stand in the short corner.
Yeah.
There are probably currently in the NBA 250 guys that can stand in the short corner and shoot around 40% if they're getting wide open looks all season.
Yeah, anybody could.
There, he competently defends his position, sort of.
Yeah, right. Again, you talk about a guy who benefits from the system. You talk about another guy who's getting the benefit of standing next to great defenders, all-world defenders.
And he was complete garbage before he got there, and I double dog dare him to play well for somebody else. If I was them, he came in asking for anything above market value, I'll find another 6'5" dude that can stand in the short corner. Big deal. Here one of my favorites, Gerald Green.
I like Gerald Green. Probably is going to move on from Phoenix just because it's time he does that. Spends a couple seasons, and also he kind of fell out of the rotation towards the end of the season. The Morris boys were eating a lot of minutes at both positions, the 3 and the 4, which maybe not direct competition with Gerald Green, but Brandon Knight was there. But I think he's a free agent too. Brandon Knight was there. That cut into his time. I think he's going to move on. I don't know if he's even happy there. But obviously, this is a dude who's proved himself. He can be a contributor on a team, and I think he's ready to be on a good team finally. He's been on terrible teams his whole career. I think he's ready. It's time to put him on a real roster and put him on a team that can compete. Hell, I'd love to see him in Cleveland.
Exactly what I was thinking. He'd be J.R. Smith, but actually able to play.
Right.
Both ends. And you know what? And you don't even lose any trick dunking. He actually dunks better than J.R. Smith. So he does. He may be the only guy in the league that does cooler stuff than J.R. Smith. Tobias Harris.
This is a little tricky for me because, I like Tobias Harris. But I think that's, again, the product of him playing in a black hole, nothing team where nobody cares about it. And then also he gets injured a lot. And then he comes back, he throws up 30 points and 12 boards. And I feel like the rest of the box score is pretty empty. I don't have very strong feelings about him. I don't think he's going to get a great deal either. I don't think there's a lot of enthusiasm around the league. I don't hear teams talking about, that Tobias Harris. Not that I hear teams saying anything, but I'm not Jalen Rose. but you don't hear guys talking about. You don't hear anybody talking about Tobias Harris. And even when he has a good game, and leads the team in scoring and rebounding, nobody walks away from that thinking he was the guy who caused them to get the win or be effective in the win. It's usually Elfrid Payton. It's usually Oladipo. It's even Vucevic in the middle. I mean, I think he's probably not going to end up with a great deal.
He's restricted so they can match.
Not sure they need to.
I don't know if I would match because and the problem I have with him is just that he's a complementary piece, and they're complementing what? They're terrible. So they need to kind of decide what they want to be before they start filling in with role players and giving them big contracts to fill roles that they don't even know. You don't even know what the role is going to be. So with Tobias Harris, he's a guy that he's basically turning himself into one of these stretch four type players. Yeah. He's like a Goon Green, but without the goonishness. And I don't know how valuable that is. I don't know if in a playoff series when I'm trying to win a championship, that's gonna help me.
I don't see how it could.
Speaking of, we don't know if this guy helps you. Roy Hibbert is unrestricted. He'll probably pick up the player option, but just briefly, just talk about what's going on with Roy Hibbert. Just briefly.
I wish Roy Hibbert hadn't stopped playing offense like 3 years ago, and been on a getting buckets diet for the past 3 seasons, because that would really help. He would be one of the top centers in the league if he could just consistently get 16. I mean, I don't know what. Maybe change of scenery is the right thing for him. I don't know, but you couldn't be in a better situation. You couldn't be on a team that utilizes your skills more appropriately. And by the way, wants you to get involved in the offense. That's the thing. They try to feed you. They try to make you get involved.
They say that they're gonna try to play faster, and I kind of think that they only said that because they want him to opt out. But that ain't gonna work because he won't be able to get that money anywhere else. So I think he's probably just gonna opt in and then try to play his way into another deal. Reggie Jackson is restricted in Detroit.
Better keep him because I love the bookends of Reggie Jackson and Andre Drummond. That you could build a franchise on that. I think Reggie Jackson is an all-star in waiting and can do really everything. I mean, from the point guard position. And he had a great opportunity to shine after the trade. So I love that. I like him. I like him a lot. I can't wait to see what he does this season. Hopefully they keep him. They cleared the backcourt to get him, so I'm sure they're going to keep him. Jennings comes back, but I like Jackson more than Jennings. So
I don't yeah, I don't ever worry about having too many good players. So I don't care if Jennings and Jackson are on the same team. I would rather figure that out after Jennings comes back rather than panic about it before he comes back.
Mhm.
Um, and Jackson is he's very actually he's very similar. He's like Russell Westbrook but without the pull up jump shot. So he's more of a three and then all the way to the rim guy.
Yep.
If he developed that stop on a dime pull up jump shot, he
But that's
probably would
yeah.
closer offensively to what Russell does. He'd probably be closer. He'd be a guy that could get you 23 a game if he
Yep.
would if he
Yep.
had that. But
Yep.
instead, he's a guy that really, once he goes, you know you can meet him at the rim. But he's
Yep.
so athletic, he can still get buckets that way
Mhm.
though.
He might be a better
Yeah,
passer
you know,
than Russell Westbrook. I think he's got a little more pure point guard in him than Russell Westbrook, which I like too.
you know what? Who can tell, man? You know, I don't think either one of them is slightest bit interested in getting their teammates involved or running a team. I think they're just dudes with the ball in their hands that happen to be shorter than shooting guards.
Mm.
Um, I don't think they have point guard mentalities at all, and that's because the league doesn't pay for that. So they both have they both have read the handwriting on the wall in terms of that. Um, you know, obviously this guy doesn't need any introduction at all. You know, he's the best player in the world. He proved himself to be a legend just here in the finals. LeBron James as a player option. Eh, we don't need this. In fact, you know what? I'm not talking about this.
Yeah.
Al Jefferson. Al Jefferson is unrestricted, but he has a player option. Talk about Al Jefferson.
Al Jefferson should stay in Charlotte. Charlotte is on the upswing, actually. They've got finally for the first time.
Really explain that to me, because
I
I
like.
think they're not going to do playoffs again.
I think they're on the upswing. Kemba Walker is emerging as an almost, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if what we're talking
If you
about this
say
season.
elite, I'm gonna cancel the rest of the show and fire you. Don't say elite. He's not on. He's
I'm
not.
not saying elite. I'm saying he'll be an all-star, and it wouldn't surprise me if we're talking about him being a top 5, 6-ish point guard in the league next season. And I like the idea that there's not a lot of pure center, good point guard combinations in the league. This team happens to have that. I like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. He's coming along. He's turning into the type of player you want him to be, a guy who hustles, a guy who rebounds, a guy who loves to defend, a guy who's emerging offensively. So I like what they've got, man. I really do. And I don't know that Al Jefferson goes anywhere and finds a better situation necessarily. I don't know that folks really want to pay for him because he's kind of been cast off all this time. He's been just shipped around and just ends up where he ends up and no one respects it, even though he's been 20-10 forever. So I don't know. I think he can stay and he'd be fine. The only thing that maybe makes you feel like you don't want to is that Michael Jordan is clearly an idiot. So that might be important. So so we'll see. But I like him. I like him in Charlotte, and I think they will turn their fortunes around this season.
Al Jefferson is Al Jefferson can play anywhere.
Yep.
If he chooses to if he chooses to opt out, then you know he opts out, goes somewhere else, and whoops ass again. That's
Mm-hmm.
really what it's going to come down to. Um, I don't think he will opt out. I'm just guessing, just because I think the situation he's in is fine, and he can play the one more year and then wait for the bonanza.
Yeah.
Like so,
Yeah.
his contract is actually structured perfectly.
Yeah.
So, um, guys with a player option this year, the lion's share of them will opt in,
Yeah.
just because the bonanza is going to be coming next year anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, here's a good name. Here's a good name for fans that want to know something about basketball. Talk a little bit about Amir Johnson.
Amir Johnson. I didn't know he was a free agent either. But that's interesting. No, fantastic rebounder. Love him, right? I think it's because he and Ed Davis, right, both from Detroit in that era, right? Back in that time, back when they were both vying for minutes, right?
Ed Davis played for Minnesota. I don't think he ever played for Detroit. He played for Minnesota. I'm not sorry, not Minnesota, Memphis and Denver.
I feel like he played. I'm gonna
Who
have
are
to
you
look it up.
thinking of with? Who are you thinking of with? I forget who you're thinking of. You're thinking of a different big guy, I think.
Maybe.
Um, I think you're
Yeah.
thinking of a different big guy.
But
Yeah,
anyhow,
Ed Davis. Oh, I'm sorry, Memphis. It was Toronto, then Memphis.
Toronto. All right, so yeah, they
Toronto.
played in Toronto together. I guess that's
You're
what.
right. That's it.
Yeah.
They were in Toronto together. You're right. You're right.
So, so anyhow, my point just being that this is another guy who I think until recently never really got the opportunity to get real minutes as a starter, and I think he's shown that he can be a starter. I'd like to see him defend a little more consistently. Not better because he's a good shot blocker. He's a pretty solid defender at the 4 and the 5. I'd like to really see him have presence, though. I don't think he has presence. I think dudes don't mind taking it to the rack when he's standing there. And, sometimes he's going to bother your shot. Sometimes he's just not. But I like him. I think he's could have a good season if he goes elsewhere. I think they got, what's his name, the center, not Vucevic, Valanciunas is there. And that's clearly the guy they want to back in the post, which is nonsense, but that's what they're doing. So
that that that
I'd like to see him get out of town if he can.
Valanciunas is terrible. Anyway,
He is.
Amir Johnson is past the point where he should be starting. He's one of these guys. He's a straight out of high school guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's an old. How old is he? He's an old 28,
Yeah.
and he gets
And
hurt a lot.
you don't think that we know what we're getting? Basically, you're saying.
I know exactly what I'm getting. I'm getting a good rock solid backup power forward slash center. Can operate around the basket competently, and that's really about it. He can operate competently in a
Yeah.
lot of different ways, but I don't expect anything big out of him. I can't play him heavy minutes because he'll get hurt.
Mm.
And yeah, that's Amir Johnson. I mean, at one time, like he was a super athletic kid and all that kind of stuff. He's not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
But he is competent and he is a professional big man. He's gonna be in the right space and things like that. He's not gonna just blow his assignments when he's supposed to rotate over and help. He's not gonna do things like that. DeAndre Jordan is unrestricted.
Yikes! Yikes! Doc better hope he done got this dude really in the right space, in the right frame of mind, and addicted to the coaching style or something, because that dude can walk and go anywhere. I think he's peerless in terms of his combination of rebounding and shot blocking. I mean, maybe Dwight, and that's a maybe to me. I mean, I just think you put this dude in any team in any situation, provided he's got his head together, and I think he does. Now that Doc has kind of coached some common sense into him, he's matured into a really well-rounded center. I really like his game. He'll probably stay though, because honestly, he could probably get more money in the coming thing. He's not a max guy necessarily, but he's going to be defensive player of the year sooner or later, and maybe multiple times sooner or later. You can't get a better rim protector. You can't beat him rebounding. And then he's lob city too, which means you can get easy buckets if you can run some adequate, screen and roll kind of stuff. So I like him. I think he could get big money. He may want to just stay with a short-term dealing, in the Clippers, and then pick up a big deal later. But we'll see. But obviously he's great.
I agree, and I don't even expect him to leave. So I expect him to re-sign, and I don't put a lot of stock in the rumors either that he and Chris Paul don't get along.
Yeah,
I don't put a lot of stock in that.
Me neither.
Here's kind of a fun one. Enes Kanter is restricted.
They gotta keep him. They gotta keep him because they don't have another center. So they're probably
They have Steven Adams.
right. And the thing about it is, I'm not super down on Enes Kanter. I'm not nearly as high on him as, the mainstream basketball media seems to be either. I think he had some good games at the end of last season because nobody else on the roster was healthy and they were force feeding him. So, how productive is he going to be when he's the fourth option in the offense? I mean, or fifth. I mean, just above Dion Waiters, maybe. Because Serge is going to be back, Durant's going to be back, Westbrook's going to be back. He doesn't particularly defend well. He's a pretty okay rebounder, but you can get that at anything. He might be 7 feet, but I don't think that he is. So I, they're probably going to keep him because they don't have anything else. But I'm not excited about him if he does anything else.
He's a reserve. He's a reserve masquerading as a starter because the league has white-sided a lot of the real centers. He is a he does have decent he has some moves on the block. He actually can. He can actually drop step and then shoot a jump hook. He can actually do that. He can actually, perform a competent up and under, step through, pump fake, step through, and up and under a guy. He can do those things. So he can't get buckets. You can give him the ball,
Mm-hmm.
and if you have especially if you have a weak defender, he can get buckets. The problem is he gives them all back. He's not even adequate. He's one of the worst defenders in the league. He's at any position. He is competing for revolving door turnstile of the year. So he's gonna give it all back. So in his canter, if you could get him to guard somebody, he'd be very valuable as a backup center. But I think that he's really just fool's gold the way he as a player today. A guy we spoke about earlier, Brandon Knight, is restricted out of Phoenix.
They're gonna keep him. I think they have to keep him because I think you talk about counterfeit. I don't believe in anything else that they're doing there. Now that Dragic's out of town, I don't believe in anything else that's going on there. I love Bledsoe, but I don't know that. The problem is, you know what the problem is? Both of those dudes are two guards in truth. I mean, Bledsoe's technically a point guard, but these are two guys who need the ball in their hand. They need to run at the rim. Brandon Knight kind of passes, and he's a decent shooter. So is Bledsoe. But I don't know what they're doing with both of those guys. So he's restricted, but they got to keep him. They got to keep him. They don't have anything else. They don't have anything else.
Brandon is extremely talented, but he's not particularly skilled. He's a real low efficiency guy. He's not a difference maker defensively. And as you said, like Bledsoe, he ain't running a team. He's basically playing the two as a one.
Yeah.
Brandon Knight, he's doing better than he had been doing, but he's still not there yet. And I don't know if you're starting him. I don't know what you're doing with the rest of your team because he doesn't do what a point guard is supposed to do, and he also isn't efficient. So he's kind of a mess in that regard. And he's so talented, so you see the talent, but we need to see the skill level. That's what we need to see. Here's a restricted guy. This guy is the toast of the town, Kawhi Leonard.
Obviously staying in San Antonio, obviously. But toast of the town for a good reason.
He can't even bring himself to speak clearly to reporters, but he's gonna leave.
You know what I like about Kawhi Leonard is that, and I mean maybe this isn't really something you should give folks credit for, but he's as good as advertised, but not better than advertised. And I don't think he purports to be anything more than what he is. He's a guy who goes out and plays great defense. He's a guy who rebounds really well at the three position, frankly, and makes up for some of the gaps in the aging front court, right? He's a guy who can knock down the open shot if you really give it to him, you really push it. He is one-handed dribbling, but it's enough. It's enough to do what he does. He only likes to go one direction to the rim, and that's fine, but finishes fantastically well and effectively. And he's not the type of guy who goes out and makes a big deal about anything that he's doing, and he's not out there getting endorsements and whatnot. He's defensive player of the year and kind of deservingly. But I'd go DeAndre Jordan, but all the same, he's as good as advertised. And so, but he's gonna stay in San Antonio.
Yeah, he's gonna stay. He'll probably he's gonna stay, and he actually does have his Brand Jordan logo is pretty cool. It's a K and an L, but it's like his hand, so
Oh,
it's
that's
pretty
cool.
cool.
Now I need to look for that. I need to look for that.
Yeah, yeah. If you look up Kawhi Leonard Brand Jordan, it pops up, but it's pretty cool. Anyway, I don't care for his offense in terms of you're saying you're gonna max a guy. I you
Mm-hmm.
know he's great on one end, but on the other end he needs a lot of help.
Yeah.
And I don't what I do like is he has incorporated some post game this year, and he's been effective with that. But
Mm-hmm.
I need to see something closer to what Jimmy Butler gives me if I want. Because like to me, you're saying he and Jimmy Butler are max players. Jimmy Butler is a
Well,
lot better player than Kawhi Leonard. He just is.
except I don't think I said that. I don't think he's a max guy.
No, no,
Is
no,
that
no.
is that
Well,
what people are saying?
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh
I've
wow.
everywhere. Everybody's like, oh, of course he's a max player. And
No,
I'm
I
thinking,
don't see. I don't think that's true.
why is he a max player and Jimmy Butler? Jimmy Butler is a lot better player than he is. He's a lot better. I don't think it's all that close because Jimmy Butler can score in one-on-one situations
Yeah.
over and over again. Like
Mhm.
he has a myriad of options he can go to. Kawhi Leonard basically is a catch and shoot guy or a catch and drive right-handed to the rim. That's
Yeah.
really all he can do.
Yeah. You can't run your offense through him at all. Like you can't. You put him on a team outside of San Antonio. I mean, he's not Danny Green, but you can't say, all right, you're our star. Go make us score buckets because we are on it's a 10-0 run the other way, and we got to get somebody to get something started. He's not that guy. So
I
he's
I
not
want
clutch last 2 minutes of the game offense guy.
I
So
100% agree. Brooke Lopez unrestricted.
he's leaving because I don't think Lionel Hollins cares for him anyhow. So and I'll tell you this,
What
uh,
coach would? What coach would?
he's been exposed, and it's going to be interesting to see what comes of this. I don't know that there's a good outcome for him. Honestly, I don't know where you can go and hide him. You could put him next to Zach Randolph, maybe, right?
That
And then like
that
you've
job
got
that job's taken.
yeah,
Okay. And, and secondly, and
is the
secondly,
subsidized center position already off the board? What if Mark
yeah,
leaves?
and and look, and also too, look, Brooke Lopez, me personally, I don't want him anywhere near my franchise.
Mhm.
Refuses to rebound, stays hurt. You know
Yeah,
what? Go and have a max deal and stay hurt for somebody else. Like why should my franchise have the center position unmanned? Like
I cannot
I would rather put a
imagine.
power forward at center. Robin Lopez is also unrestricted. Brother, go.
Well, I'll tell you this. If it's me, I'm picking up Robin Lopez. I'm looking for Robin Lopez because at least I know I'm gonna get a guy who can hustle and block some shots, play some defense, get some boards. Is a good locker room guy, pretty healthy actually. You know,
Yeah, with
so
the exception of this year, yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Apart from this last part of the year, but yeah, I mean, I obviously that's the guy I'm looking for.
Here,
I
here's my problem with Robin though.
yeah
Robin is his only job. His only job is to get garbage buckets and defend the center position. And he does not defend the few back to the basket centers in the league there are. He gets roasted just like anybody else. So what I question is, well then what's really his value then if he doesn't really defend that well? If that's his value proposition, he doesn't really do that. Well, then what do I even need him for? What's the point?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm not super high on him, but you can pick him up. He can start in in the league on a handful of teams, and he's better than folks who start fours that aren't really fives. So there you go.
Kevin Love is unrestricted with a player option.
This is tough, actually. This is tough. I mean, clearly we know what Kevin Love is. He's not going to defend, and actually that may be his doom in Cleveland, in a place where LeBron is kind of going to demand that everybody puts forth really serious defensive effort. But anybody's going to pick him up. Anybody's going to give him a max deal. So he's free to go anywhere, honestly, and he'll be picked up wherever he goes, and inserted into the starting lineup and et cetera. So, but he's a tough one. I don't know what's going to happen with him, but obviously we know who Kevin Love is and what he can do. Don't know if he can do it on a good team where it matters though. So
Yeah, he's a guy that's a really good rebounder on both ends, which in turn makes him a great rebounder. He can hit the three. He can post up if you're a bum. So he is well rounded from those aspects, and then he just craters it on the defensive end by not doing anything.
yeah,
And that's what kills his value on a good team because you have to defend. But as you said, he will get his run of it, and he's going to get a max deal from somebody, whether it's Cleveland or not. Wes Matthews Jr.'s bad luck is that he's unrestricted.
yeah, that's tough. But if anybody's earned benefit of the doubt in my book, based on what I've seen and what I look at and evaluate in terms of basketball, is Wesley Matthews Jr. I don't think this is the type of guy. I mean, you can't bank on how good his leg is going to respond, if he's going to be able to come back. But this isn't a guy to me whose best asset was his athleticism anyhow. It wasn't about how quick he was or how high he's jumping and that sort of thing. It was about his mental toughness. It was about his savvy on the court. It was about his great basketball IQ. Shooting touch is going to be there. He's still going to be fantastic in that regard. The question is he going to be an 18-ish guy or is he going to be a 13-ish guy offensively? And, we'll have to see how that works out. I think he'll probably be 15 this year, but he could get back up to 18 in the out years if he recovers well. So I hope he gets a big deal. One of my favorite players, prototype in terms of being a shooting guard. So I like his chances of getting a good deal even still.
Hey, excellent, well-rounded dude. Great shooter, good defender. He's a top-flight shooting guard, and whoever gets him is going to have a top-flight shooting guard. He can play for anybody in the league. Anybody in the league, and if you got a great two, like you got James Harden, put him at the three. Don't matter. He'll play that too. Matter.
Yep.
Paul Millsap is also unrestricted.
Despite the great success, my sense is he's going to leave town. And he's going to get a max deal somewhere, frankly. And he's going to leave town.
Is he going to get a max? What is he going to get a max? Well, why would you max him? Tell me why you max him.
Well, I think he's going to get a max because someone is going to need to be able to say that we've got an all-star out there on our roster. And he's also proven he can put up the numbers. This dude can score. He can rebound. He defends pretty well. He can play the stretch stuff, hit the three and all that stuff. But he's also a guy who's great near the rim. Not super great back to the basket, but effective near the rim. So I like him. I think you can count on 18, 19 points a game and close to 10 rebounds if, asked to do that. So I think he'll probably get a max. Would I max him? I'd probably max him depending on my roster, actually, because I think he's the type of guy you can build around too.
Yeah, I think that I think very similar to you, and I think what puts him over the top in terms of a player that I would go after is the fact that as long as we have good defensive team concepts, as long as we're rotating effectively, guys are on the line, up the line, and getting deflections, I know he's gonna get a lot of steals. He's one of those guys that scavenges a lot of plays on a good defensive team without being out of position. He actually does it by being in position.
Yep.
And so he's just a very, very, not only is he a solid offensive player and a solid rebounder, he's a very intelligent defender. I think he's a perfect guy for the way that teams construct the NBA teams currently construct their rosters. He's a perfect guy to bring in at the 4. He's perfect. Greg Monroe is unrestricted out of Detroit.
Did you say he's unrestricted?
Unrestricted.
He's gonna leave. He's gonna leave because honestly,
it's screwed then. It sucks. It sucks. Go ahead, man. What's Greg Monroe's skill set?
I like him. Georgetown doesn't do nothing but produce great centers, frankly. And this is another example. And the problem is Drummond is just better, to be honest. And the ceiling's probably higher for Drummond. So not that it's an either or. Nothing wrong with keeping them both and just beating people to death on the glass and in the low post every night. I would love to see that happen. But I think if he's unrestricted, he doesn't want that. I think he wants to be the guy who can be the option in the paint every night. I think he wants to move back to being the center. I don't think he loves being at the 4. I've had lots of phone calls with him, and he tells me these things. But no, this is me speculating. I think he's probably more comfortable at the 5. He's a natural 5. That's what he's always played. And I think he's good enough and warrants being the primary option in the post. He's that consistent. So
that's the problem with him in Detroit, is that he's actually a 5. They're
yep.
when they start, their starting lineup is 2 5s. And Greg Monroe has lead in his shoes.
Yep.
He's slow and he can't jump. And that's the difference though with at the 4, like Zach Randolph can't jump, but he does have good feet.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Monroe is slow. He has good offensive footwork, but he's slow, and it hurts him on the defensive end when his opponent is quick.
Yep.
I wonder about Greg Monroe standing next to a center, and if that can work the way that teams use their rosters nowadays. Definitely a good player, but he does have some funny deficiencies if you put him at the 4.
Yep.
Timofey Mozgov's unrestricted with a team option. They're obviously going to pick it up because the team option is like $5 million or something like that, or $6 million.
Yeah.
They're going to pick it up. But just quickly, what does Timofey Mozgov bring to the table other than being caressed down by the fire?
Well, you're absolutely right. They're going to pick it up because somebody watched the finals and somebody is overrating him as we speak. Now, I will say this: he's better than I thought he was. He is better than he showed me.
Better than I thought he was too.
He showed me something in the finals. I'm going to give him credit as being an.
Keep in mind though, that team has defensively at the 5. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I mean,
they're playing green at 5. Come on.
Here's the truth. He's a backup. He's a backup in this league, really. But he is 7 feet. He does actually command some attention in the low post on offense. Not back to the basket stuff, but he's just fucking tough around the rim. He really is. I mean, offensive boards and stickbacks or moving without the ball towards the rim. We saw he did that to great effect in the finals. So I think he's solid. I think they better pick him up. And if he improves it all, and he might become a real rebounder. He might develop some back to the basket stuff a little bit. Then he's good to have on your team, actually. So I've come around on him.
I've come around on him also, but at the same time, I think that he's reached his ceiling. I actually don't think he'll get any better. And I think that I think a player like him, he's going to start to break down as he plays starter minutes over the next couple. He's going to start to break down. But as you said, all those things are true about his strengths and his skill in terms of his skill set. And, he's worth $5-6 million. So Cleveland should go ahead and pick up the option and then go on to filling the other jillion holes on their team. Our guy, P. Double, one of our basketball heroes, Paul Pierce, is unrestricted with a player option. What is at this stage? We know what he's done, but at this stage, what is Paul Pierce doing?
Integral part of that playoff run for the Washington Wizards this year. Hit big shots just like he's done all the rest of his career. I anticipate that he's got more in the tank. He can continue to do that. Now the problem is, I think from what reports are saying, he's kind of feeling himself now. So he wants to go back to being, kind of a fixture on a team, being a lead dog on a team. And I don't know he's got that left in him. Rumors are he's going to the Clippers, which actually would be a good fit.
Yeah, that's where the rumors are. That's where he's playing the media like a fiddle then. If he's really trying to say it. Because you don't say that out of one side of your mouth and then say, but yeah, I'm going to go to the Clippers where they already have two superstar players, and I'm going to be in the same role I was in before. Pierce knows better than that. He knows better than that, and he knows those days are behind him. But he still can hit a big shot. He still is a competent defender, even though he's slow. If you bring him in, you get a professional swing man. Would be, and that's a lot better than a lot of teams. The role. Look, hey, he could have helped Cleveland this year. They were in the finals. Rajon Rondo is unrestricted, and man, does Dallas hate him.
Dude, the enigma. This is the blue chip of the free agency thing. Because when Rondo's motivated, he is in the discussion for best point guards in the world. And when he's not motivated, he'll just say, "I'm not going to play anymore," and he'll tank your team for you. So, but this is the thing: you get him in a city where he wants to be, and there's got to be some cities, some contenders who really got to want him. If you ask me, so I think this is going to be the most interesting free agent on the board. Frankly, I mean, no need to talk about his resume. We know what he is. This dude is a walking triple double when he wants to be. Um, I'd love to see him
I
work on the jump shot, but other than that, he's pure point guard, pure as they come.
I heard a comment about him from a Boston reporter a few years back, and he said, the trouble with coaching Rondo is that most of the game is going on in his head
Mm.
3 plays ago, and there's no way to figure out what he's doing because it's something that he planned out ahead of time a long time ago and
Yeah.
didn't tell anybody else he was doing it. And that was the best way I've heard to describe his game because one, it was just an interesting concept, and two, it highlighted the truth about Rajon Rondo that you know
Mhm.
a player like that with his type of attitude is not going to be called intelligent in most cases.
Mhm.
He's actually one of the smartest people involved in the NBA. Like
Yep.
he's a math guy, and he's just a real smart guy in general, and he's also a basketball genius.
Yep.
He's brilliant.
Yep.
The question is, like you said though, that doesn't do me any good if he gets here and decides, I don't feel like it. So we'll see what he does. I was like a lot of his fans, I was very disappointed in the way that he handled his Dallas tenure. Regardless of what Rick Carlisle, whether he's a jerk or not, doesn't matter. You do have to play for the guys in uniform. You just
Yep.
have to. That's just
Yep.
the way it is. Uh, Iman Shumpert, the Shump, he's restricted. We talked about him a lot. We don't have to elaborate too much. We know he's gonna stay, right? He's staying, right? They're gonna probably match, right?
You got to. It's like you
He ain't
said.
expensive. He can't score. He's not expensive.
Yeah, he doesn't cost you anything, and he's a good fit for what they want to do once they actually have a roster. So I think obviously you keep him. Um, and like you said on Mozgov, yeah, you keep the dudes who actually can produce and contribute, and you go fill the rest of the holes in the roster, which are plentiful.
Good,
So
excellent point. That a guy like that, they have to sign him up. If unless somebody makes a stupid offer, match it and move on.
yeah,
You got the cap is going to go up anyway. Match it, move on, and find something else to worry about.
yeah.
Uh, Josh Smith is unrestricted. Here, enigma source.
If he's unrestricted, I think he's probably not likely to find a whole lot on the free market because, again, this is a dude who's kind of shown that he doesn't really help your team get to the promised land. He's not the type of guy who's going to get you over the hump, and he's going to be a contributor, and he's good, but he might command a high price tag. He's a very veteran dude. I don't know that you can get him for what his value really is. So if it's me, I'm passing on it.
Yeah, he doesn't look like he can play anymore, or he has no desire to play. Either way, but I think he stinks. And speaking of stinks, here's another guy that I believe was in the same draft class. J.R. Smith is unrestricted with a player option.
I think we effed him up pretty nicely on the report card. There's
Oh
no
yeah,
need.
yeah, we did. Yep,
This
we gave him.
this dude can get out of the league. He's had all the opportunities he needs. I can't even fathom a circumstance or scenario where he would even be helpful for your team. Even if you're a terrible team, you don't want him messing up and taking shots away from your blue chip rookie talent that you've got. I don't need him on any roster in any conceivable fashion. I
I,
would never pick him up.
Here's the thing. There's plenty of terrible teams he could play on. It'd be just fine. But if I'm trying to win, wouldn't be on my roster. Maurice Spates is unrestricted with team option. Talk a little bit about Maurice Spates.
Keep him because I think David Lee's going away. So that's just more minutes. If he can stay healthy, he's, man, as good a backup tweener 4-5 as you're going to find in the league. Showed why in the finals in the limited minutes he got. So, obviously you keep him. Great jump shot, great touch on the jump shot, scoring machine, like probably one of the best bench scorers in the league. So, no, love him. They got to keep him.
Yeah, he's a point a minute type guy. Here's an interesting one too. Rodney Stuckey is unrestricted.
I, I knew this. He was playing for a contract in Indiana, and he wasn't exactly healthy. But once the whole team collapsed and everything, it was like, all right, show what you got. And he showed you that he's still just Rodney Stuckey. So, which is just okay. So,
No,
so
you know what?
get a contract somewhere. It's not going to be important.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that either. Being Rodney Stuckey, if I need a backup 1-2 to come in, and I know he's gonna come in and competently go and chase buckets, and he'll get a few of them. That's fine.
Which is fine.
I don't care about it really either way.
Don't go overpaying for it, but it's fine.
Yeah, Tristan Thompson is restricted. We know they're gonna match unless it's something outrageous. But real quick,
he might get something outrageous.
Well, why? Why would he get something outrageous? You tell me what's up with Tristan Thompson. Why would he get something outrageous?
Here's the thing. I mean, he was already on the upswing. He was already going into the season before Love came in and supplanted him, going to be the starting guy in Cleveland. He was coming off of a really good year. He's emerging to be a consistent 10 rebound a game guy. And I think what he showed you in the finals and in the playoffs is that he can be a complementary big man in a way that you put him next to anybody and he makes everybody else around him in the front court much better. And he gets your team second chances and all that stuff. I could see a team going, opening up the wallet a little bit and trying to press Cleveland for that guy's services, which would put Cleveland in a tough spot if they need to pay for other positions. And they got to spend a little more than they expected on Tristan. So I think that's going to be interesting.
I would. It would be nice to see him with it'd be nice to see him with a real center that could score, that had actual moves since he's the garbage guy. What I want to see from Tristan Thompson is I want to see him do this over the course of a season. It's one thing to playoffs be a 13 rebound guy. I want to see over the course of a season you be an 11, 12 rebound guy, and then I'll believe more. But from what I saw, Tristan is excellent for what you know he's gonna do. Dwayne Wade is unrestricted with a player option. What does Dwayne Wade have left in the tank?
He's got a 20-game season left coming for sure. I think he's still got that. He's got to rest a lot, but I think he can give you 20 points over the course of the season. The question is how much. I think the real question is less what he's got in the tank and how much does he really want it. He's got multiple championships. He's been to the finals a bunch. He's been an all-star all his career and everything. I think he likes Miami. I think he's a Miami hero. He's one of the last guys, him and Kobe maybe, who are like, I think believe in the idea that I'm of this franchise and I want to make my legacy here and I want to retire here in Jersey in the rafters and all that. I think he stays in Miami and just helps the team transition into the post-Wade era. And he'll do it gracefully and professionally because he's a stand-up guy and all that. But I don't think he has super great desire to be at the top of the league anymore.
I think he actually does want to be at the top of the league.
Ooh, interesting.
I think, and you know what? I haven't heard it yet, and maybe people are saying because I don't necessarily read a lot of other analysis because I'm a senior basketball analyst. Why would I?
Well, dude, you got to get on the phone like me and talk to folks, dude. You got to get out there and work your contacts.
I'm gonna tell you like this: the Heat. People watch out because if they are healthy at all, and by healthy I mean Wade plays 60 games or so.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Goran Dragic, Wade, Luol Deng, Chris Bosh, Hassan Whiteside. That's scary.
That's super scary.
That's a finals caliber starting lineup. So look out for Miami Heat. Watch what they do this season. David West is unrestricted with a player option.
David West is too old, and if I can upgrade David West and turn him into Tristan Thompson, and I'm the Pacers, I do that. I do that in a heartbeat. Now he may take the player option, But if I can upgrade him, I upgrade him, and there may be some guys out here in the market who can do that for you.
The unfortunate thing about David West, or I should say for Indiana, if you're David West is the last of a dying breed, and you may feel like you just need him so bad to be as effective as whatever he can roll out there, because
Mm-hmm.
he's getting old. He's like aging fast.
Yep.
But again, if you replace him, you're gonna be replacing him with a dude who isn't like that. It's gonna
Yep.
be one of these new cats. Uh, Lou Williams, unrestricted.
Kind of again a guy I don't care. I don't see he's going to go. If he leaves Toronto, he's going to land on a team where he gets to kind of shoot a bunch of shots off the bench and be kind of a good scorer, but not really. And I don't see that working on an important team. So it'll be just like his life in Toronto, Atlanta, Philly, whatever.
I think you know what I differ on Rodney Stuckey with I should say I feel differently about Lou Williams than I do Rodney Stuckey. Lou Williams is Jamal Crawford Jr. If Lou Williams is on a good team, he's gonna be coming off the bench, killing good teams in the playoffs. He will
Yeah.
be killing them. He's gonna throw in a bunch of points, and everybody's gonna go, "Who is this guy, Lou Williams?" That's what people are gonna do. Man, the dude's a scoring machine, man. Brandon Knight is unrestricted.
Brandon Knight.
Brandon Wright. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Brandon Wright. I'm sorry. Brandon Wright is unrestricted.
Brendan Wright is a very good player. He's going to get some money this time, and he's going to get an opportunity, I think, finally. Golden State wasn't great for him. Dallas was okay for him, but just too crowded in the front court, and Dirk eats up a lot of minutes, and Tyson Chandler is better than you. So Phoenix was a good stop because Alex Len got hurt, and some other guys were out of the lineup, and then he came in, and it was an opportunity. And I think in the games where he played and he was the starter, he showed he can be a contributor in the league. So I think he's going to get some money. I think he's going to get an opportunity to be, first guy off the bench and maybe play into a starting role depending on where he lands. So good for him because he's a good rebounder, good defender, and I think the offensive game is coming along too.
I don't like him, and I think you know what it's very similar to what I said about fake Goon Green, Tobias Harris.
Yeah.
Brandon Wright is Tristan Thompson without the hustle. He's Tristan Thompson without the hustle.
We're going to monitor this as the season rolls along.
Okay. Monitor it all you want. Brandon Wright ain't gonna do anything. He hasn't been doing anything for years and years. And the final player on our list, the 48th guy, Thaddeus Young is unrestricted.
Another tough one because I don't know that I can say I'm a believer. Love the talent, obviously. He's got all the tools. I just have never seen him really, really, really put it together. Now he's played in some bad situations, Philly, Minnesota. He was kind of a toss-in and still didn't quite fit in Brooklyn. Someone's going to pay him. He's got enough talent, and he's young enough still to go out there and get a good contract. But I think he's ultimately got the wrong combination of parts to be a 4, and he's not exactly a 3. So I don't know how he fits on a conventional team that helps you win, really. He's not Sean Marion. You know what I mean? So
no, he's not nearly that good, but I think he's good enough. And I think one of the reasons you're down on him is, which you admitted, you stated already, he's been on nothing but terrible teams. I mean, just terrible.
Yeah.
And I think it colors whether or not you think he can win.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with his game in terms of being on a winning team. I think if he played, in like example, I'll give you an example of a team he would help immediately. He'd help the Wizards immediately. He would be great for the Wizards. He's a guy with a very versatile skill set in terms of his. He's got quick hands defensively. He, at the 3 position, he's a great rebounder at the 3 position. He doesn't shoot from the outside that well, but he doesn't have to because he can get in the paint and score. So Thaddeus Young, man, and he's deceptive because he's left-handed. So Thaddeus Young, man, I think he's a good player. It'd be nice to see him in a good situation so we can you know, actually we can see him not playing for somebody who's terrible, like all-time worst franchises is what he's playing for. Philly,
Yeah.
Minnesota, these are dumpster fire
Yep.
style teams. So that's the last guy. Thanks for staying with us, everybody. We didn't make the time we wanted to make, but we're gonna try again next year. We're gonna try really hard to not pontificate too long. So that's the Senior Basketball Analyst 2015. Free agent roundup, 48 players. Tried to get it in 48
It was
minutes.
rapid fire. We did all right.
Senior Basketball Analyst, and you know that.